Hi everyone, I'm Diana Brantuas and I'm the Program Coordinator at ACM for Conference Budgets. I handle the TMRF approval process for all our sponsored, co-sponsored, and in cooperation conferences. ACM offers two options for conferences, sponsorship or in cooperation. The main difference between these two is who will be taking the legal and financial responsibility for the event. With sponsorship, the SIG is the financial and legal sponsor. Co-sponsored events are similar but share the responsibility between two or more SIGs or other organizations. For in cooperation, the conference is sponsored by another nonprofit organization and the SIGs will not be legal or financially responsible. More on in cooperation will be discussed a little later. For all these events, it requires the submission of paperwork to headquarters. The paperwork process is called the TMRF, or the Technical Meeting Request Form. While both kinds of events submit a TMRF, the forms are different depending on if the conference is seeking sponsorship or in cooperation. Whichever form the conference needs to complete, it is completed and submitted online. Let's take a look at the process for sponsorship. For those conferences in a series, they can submit a PAF or a preliminary approval form. The PAF is a simple form that only requires basic conference information, like dates, location, and key committee members, and it can be submitted quickly. While the TMRF is still required later for submission, the PAF allows conferences to notify the sponsoring SIGs of their decisions and, if endorsed, move ahead with planning. With an endorsed PAF, conferences will appear on the ACM calendar of events, can distribute their call for papers, and begin working on site selection. We recommend that the PAF be submitted 18 months prior to the start of a conference. New conferences that have not been sponsored before must fill out the full TMRF and are not eligible to submit a PAF. Once a PAF has been submitted, an email will be sent to all the sponsoring SIGs. In the email, a link is provided to review the information and you will see a screen like this. It will show you all the information that was submitted and gives you two options. If everything looks good, you can list this as endorsed. If you want more information, you can select question in the drop-down. This will give you a text box to input your question, and this will automatically be emailed directly to the conference leaders with you copied. Once the conference leaders have answered all of your questions to your satisfaction, you can come back to the form and list it as endorsed. With the PAF endorsed, an email is automatically sent to me so that I can update the conference status in our system. An email is also sent to the conference leaders with next steps and a direct link to submit their TMRF. The TMRF asks for more details about the conference plans and consists of three parts. Part 1 asks for information including topics to be covered, paper selection, proceedings plans, and additional committee members. Part 2 is the budget and budget rationale. The budget is submitted as an Excel file and leaders are given extra space to include any assumptions or rationale in support of their submitted budget. Part 3 requires the conference leaders to sign a form called the Statement of Understanding. All three parts must be submitted for the TMRF to be completed. We recommend submitting this 14 to 12 months before the start of a conference. Once the TMRF is submitted, it's reviewed for completeness, checked to make sure that any standard elements like contingency and overhead is included, that any big inconsistencies compared to history is explained, and that if needed, the budget accounts for any local tax obligations. Once the TMRF has been looked over, an email is sent out to the sponsoring SIGs, including a link called the Budget Memo link, as well as any of the budget assumptions the leaders provided. What's displayed here is the layout of the information the Budget Memo will provide. It has conference information, a download to the full detailed Excel budget, as well as a grid that displays the high-level categories of the current budget and the prior 2 years of the conference's financial history. Using this, if everything looks good, you can let me know on email that you give your approval. I will update the status in our system and notify the conference leaders. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me, and I will facilitate you and the conference leaders having a discussion to get more information that you need and have any adjustments made to the budget. Once the budget has been approved and planning moves forward, if the budget changes more than 15% on the bottom line or registration rates are updated, we ask the conference leaders to resubmit the budget for reapproval. I would reach out to you if an updated budget is submitted for your review. With many of our conferences taking place outside of the US, one area that should be noted is local taxes. While ACM is tax exempt in certain US states, we are not exempt from taxes outside of the US. Each country has its own set of tax laws and requirements. These laws change often, and factors such as conference size, technical content, associated organizations, and frequency of overall ACM activity within that country may play a role in a conference's tax requirements. We make use of VAT advisors who research these requirements as we need. Once a conference has selected a location, they can reach out to me and I will work with our finance team and VAT advisors to get the tax obligations for the conference. I also assist the conference in integrating any tax obligations into their budget. Conferences are able to submit their budget in any currency, and if there's any currency fluctuation with the exchange rates, the budget has contingency that can be used to cover this. Now let's take a look at what in-cooperation is and its requirements. In-cooperation status allows for SIGs to lend their name to conferences which are fully sponsored by other nonprofit organizations and is primarily for publicity and to encourage members to participate by contributing papers and attending technical sessions. It specifically excludes financial participation, responsibility, or liability on the part of the SIGs and ACM. For conferences seeking in-cooperation, they also submit paperwork online. Once the event submits their paperwork, it's reviewed for completeness and is emailed to the requested SIGs for your review. Here are some questions on the screen that you can consider when reviewing an in-cooperation conference. Once you have reviewed and made a decision, you can let me know. I will inform the leaders of the approval or denial. If approved, the conference is placed on the ACM calendar of events, instructed to include the appropriate logos on their website, and given further instructions if they would also like to apply to our ICPS program to have their proceedings published in the ACM Digital Library. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope this presentation has been helpful. If you have any other questions regarding the TMRF process, the budget, or in cooperation, please let me know. My contact information is displayed here. Thank you.